So here we are having another podcast for property women, and we just wanted to get some women in focus feedback from some local women, just so that everybody knows exactly that there's not always good things in property, there's not always bad things in property. You know, what it gets down to is being real in property. And that's why we wanted to have a few of these interviews, so that you can get to know some of the other investors who have been there and done that before you. And also for people that you can later on network with, because networking is such an important part of investing, as you probably know. So whether you're new to investing or old to investing, you are going to love this lady, and I can see her smiling face already, and I miss that because she's in Adelaide and I'm in Victoria at the moment. But I'm going to hand you over now, almost hand you over to Michelle Lewis. Michelle is an awesome lady. She's done heaps of things, and she's one of those women that if you know when they say, if you want something done, ask a busy woman. Well, that's exactly what Michelle Lewis is, a busy woman, and very productive. But, you know, everything comes with its challenges. So she's going to be very open with us today, I know. She's always very open anyway. But I just thought, you know, we'd share a lot of information for everybody, Michelle. So perhaps you can start off, just give everybody a bit of an idea about who you are and what you've been doing in relation to property over the years.
Yes, hi Rachel, it's great to talk to you, and thanks for the opportunity to give back and share with other women, because that's a really important part of my journey, and it's where I get a lot of personal value and satisfaction. So I guess, you know, as a young person, I was always aware of what was an appreciating asset and what was a depreciating asset. So the concept of buying a new car, for example, is crazy to me. So I love the idea of bricks and mortar. When I was about 18, I read this book, and that was a real light bulb moment for me. It's called Your Money by Anita Bell, and she talked about the concept of investing in things that will grow over time and add value to your life. So for me, that sort of was a starting point. And then I guess having lost my dad at 20 and then my grandfather, my siblings and I came into a small amount of money. And I decided that was my opportunity to get started and buy my first investment property.
And you haven't looked back, have you, really?
No, I haven't. I keep looking forward. And as you said, there is always challenges. So, yeah, that's something we can definitely talk about today. Yeah.
Cool. Well, tell us about your strategy and how you chose what you do.
Yeah. So I guess the first one, I guess we were looking for a family home, my husband and I, and a place to get started. I wasn't pregnant. We were looking at getting married. And
first things first.
First things first, that's right. We were looking at getting married, and we went to an auction and took the dog along. And it was what we call a masonette in Adelaide, which is a half a house with a joined wall, and it was in shocking condition. And instinctively I was like, ooh, if it's looking awful and it smells like 20 cats that were in there, that's going to put a lot of people off, but not me. I'm like, I want the bargain. I was always very driven by the low cost. And so we went along and we purchased that property in 2003 for $145,600. And at the time, people were like, ooh, you paid too much. But we went on and did that renovation ourselves, did the floorboards ourselves. We got the family around, everyone helped out, and we cleaned out the cat hair, cleaned out the cat run. And it was fun. We loved it. We loved it. It was great. It was hard work, but it was fun. And then that was our first home. On that property, we also did our first development, which was to put on knock down the back room and put on a large family room, a bedroom, and a laundry. And so, yeah, over time that happened, and that was a wonderful experience as well. So out of necessity became my first experiences of property investing. Yeah.
Well, that's the interesting thing, isn't it? Well, they say needs must. You know, when you have to do something, you do it, and then you learn it, and then you find out the things that you really love. So renovation always comes back to me when I talk to you.
Yes.
So I know you've done a few renovations. Just give us a bit of an idea about how you got into renovating outside of your home, and what sort of that's done for you, what achievements you've got from that.
Yeah, so I guess my bread and butter, we've renovated 8 houses now. So my bread and butter is buying a low-cost property and renovating on a budget. And some of the comments and feedback I've had by people like Bernadette Jansen and others is that when I see you and your renovations, Michelle, I always think I'm spending too much. And most often people are. You've got to really get inside the mind of a tight ass like myself to really learn how to renovate on a budget. So I guess from seeing what we did by adding value to that property that we first purchased, I was like, wow, if we can do this once, perhaps we can do it again. But it wasn't until I joined Property Women and until I joined the Brilliant Diamond program that I went hell for leather and went right. And at that time we were living in New South Wales, and it was really joining Property Women, getting educated and having Rachel as my mentor through the Property Women program that really took me to the next level, definitely.
Well, you are an amazing woman. You're so inspiring. Everything wouldn't have been that rosy and easy though, was it? I mean, how many children do you have, and how do you manage to cope with children's school, husband who I think was working away at some stages as well, so you're sort of the only parent for a while, financially? How do you cope time-wise and financially doing all of that?
I think at the time I was so driven, I was so determined that I just made it happen. And so that meant dragging the kids everywhere. I had my 2-year-old on site with me, all OH&S risks. It just meant before school, after school, we were at the sites weekends. It basically took over our lives, but we loved it and we enjoyed it, and we were achieving and succeeding. A few hospital visits, but that happens. That's another story. But you just have to reprioritize your life, and that's what I am finding increasingly difficult now as the children are older, with school commitments and sporting commitments. It's very, very challenging. So that's where I'm looking at refocusing my strategy to work in with that now. But at the time when they're little, it's a lot easier to drag them around. As they get older, it gets much harder.
I think there's much choice when they're younger, do they?
No, they don't. But I think as an investor, you need to look at changing up your strategy anyway. So as you say, the need determines perhaps which direction you go in.
And balancing life is the issue, the issue, because when you've got children, you've got your family, you've really got to try and make sure that you have the balance of looking after your family, enjoying life, as well as your investing, don't you? So how do you prioritise that, or how have you done that?
Well, what I did learn, I guess, through going hard, hammer and tongs earlier on, is that we didn't really appreciate and celebrate our successes. So that's something that I've come to learn a lot about. I've also learned a lot about self-development, how self-development is so important, and how developing your person and your belief system and your goals and your focus and what it is that matters to you and why you're doing it, which is the really important point. So it's really important to work on that. But I guess I've forgotten your question now, Rachel.
How do you work the priorities?
Yeah. So basically, I was thinking about that this morning, and you just really have to give up other things. So you only have so many hours in a day. And perhaps, maybe there's a time when you've enjoyed your friendships and your coffees and things, and you can still have that, but you just need to have it with property investors and just make it a priority. You have to make it happen. You have to give something up to get something.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because sometimes I've sort of said, I haven't got time for this, or I haven't got time for that, especially in the old days before we got into investing and focus. But when I sort of sat down and worked out how much time I might spend in front of the TV or, just looking around the shops or something, you think, well, that is time. It just gets to where you choose to spend your time,
Yes.
So that's, really insightful. So if you had say 3 to 5 things from lessons you've learned or from things that you've discovered over time, what sort of tips would you give to somebody new to investing who's coming into it now, especially when things can be a bit tight on the lending side?
Yeah, absolutely. I guess the first thing is to get educated. Unless you educate yourself, you're your own best advocate. So you can link up with other professionals, but at the end of the day, you have to have a general knowledge of property and property investing, or know where to get that. So I'd say that having a mentor, of course, is really important. That accelerated my start, having you, Rachel, and other women within Property Women to help me to get going. I think also having your why. Why are you doing it? And also the self-development in terms of money blocks or other things that people talk about. Facing those fears is really important as well. So you need to seriously address that, and you need to treat it like a business. Like, it's not just a casual thing. You actually need to treat it like a business, but it is something you can do around family. and friends. And I guess in terms of your specific question in regards to lending, I guess just being open to the idea that there's not always a traditional form of lending available. So yes, you can go to the bank and ask for money, but there's JV partnerships, there's third-party lenders or second-tier lenders. So just being open to different ideas. And I think, my biggest tip to everyone is to take action. So you can learn and learn and learn and learn, but start with something small. Buy your first property by yourself, with your husband, with your family, or with another person, and just start small. Start somewhere. Take action. You've got to learn by action at the end of the day.
I think that's great. Yeah. I mean, the small steps is the thing. Sometimes I think people come into investing and they think, I'm going to have, a huge portfolio, but it still just starts with one, doesn't it? You just need that small one to get you going, and then it's another small step. And each time you learn something. So if you bought into a huge development to start with and you had a lot of money at stake, my concern for people then is that, you might either be in joint venture with somebody you don't know enough about the system, about the processes, and you can lose badly. Whereas if you do it on your own the first time, I'm totally with you there. Learn yourself, start small, and work your way up, and then you can, learn as you go.
Yeah, well, we should definitely talk another time about our development project that didn't go to plan, because there's definitely many lessons to be learned there. But the main thing is to not give up and to, revisit it again when you're ready.
I think that's the thing, don't give up. And sometimes, life can get in the way, or it seems to, where other priorities come in, and, it might be health or something like that really takes the first spot. But tell us what you have planned then for 2018. Like, what are you going to be doing going forward?
Yeah, well, the new year's always a great chance to refocus and see what's happening. I've definitely got my development spark back, thank goodness. It took a little while. But yeah, I just want to explore some possibilities in development. And, the best advice I can give people there is start talking to other people that have done it. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. So it can be for some people a real test in confidence and throwing yourself out there. But I would encourage you to, if there is something that you want to do in 2018, to just start talking to people. And sometimes you do have to invest a bit in yourself. I did do a development course that I learned quite a lot of, but until you actually do development yourself, then it's really just words on paper. So it's a matter of going through the process.
Absolutely, yeah. So it comes down to a number of things, but I agree with all of those things that you said, which is lovely. I haven't got to argue or put another point of view across.
Great minds think alike.
Or blondes.
Artificially inseminated blondes.
Yes. There's a limit to the truth we want to give out. It's always lovely to catch up with you, Michelle. And I know we've got, we catch up in Adelaide sometimes when I'm there. It gets more and more difficult sometimes for people to sort of catch up. So I know it's great even if we can do these sorts of events where we can perhaps have groups together that are on Zoom or, on webinars, and we can sort of connect. Because it's still nice to see a shining, smiling face. Anything else you want to add before I let you go?
No, I just think, the other thing as well as joining an education program is that there's lots of books out there. This might be one you're familiar with, Rachel.
Oh, yes, it looks a bit familiar.
So this is a great place to start as well. Of course, the Property Woman book. But, it's a bit of a cliche now, but joining Property Women and doing the Brilliant Diamond program in particular, it did change my life. But more than anything, I've enjoyed the journey and the friends I've made, and the people I've met, the other inspiring women that I've met. That's much more value to me than the money we've made along the way. So that's my hope for the future and for others, is that it's about the journey. It's not necessarily the end destination. So enjoy that and have fun.
Oh, absolutely. I look forward to seeing you, I think in a week or two. We'll have some fun in Adelaide.
Good. Yes, we will. All right. Thanks so much, Rachel.
That's all right. Before I let you go, I'm just going to make sure we get a commitment from you that you'll do another podcast where we can talk about some of your developments, good and bad.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, definitely. Yes.
Awesome. Excellent. All right. Well, thank you so much. The cat's calling.
Yeah. Oh my God, you got a baby there?
It's an old cat, but I think it thinks it's a baby. So I'll let you go. Thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate talking to you. Always love talking to you. You're so inspiring.
You too.
Take care. We'll talk again soon.
Bye, everyone. Hope to see you soon. Bye.